Is that all right? So, okay, Adams,
Here.
Armour,
Here.
Davenport is not here. DeLon is not here. Doyle,
Here.
Kelder,
Here.
Magnanini is not here. Milzatsky,
Here.
Tantillo's not here. And Williams? I know she's here. I just spoke with her. So. Okay, we have a quorum. We can go ahead with the meeting.
Just a point of clarification, there's only 8 pictures, but it says 10 are in the meeting. Who are the other folks?
Well, there's me, there's Robert.
There's 2 phone numbers here that are attendees. That's why I don't know the phone
Gotcha.
numbers.
Okay,
So-
can you record them?
Let's ask.
If you're 215-876-6246, if you could identify yourself, I'll allow you to talk. Are you a member of the board? Not getting anything. Or let's see, I got 340-3492 as well.
What's that number?
340-3492.
340
3492.
34.
Can you hear me?
Oh, Stacy. Yeah, we can hear you.
Let me,
Okay,
let me
it's
promote you as a
Gracie.
cat.
I'm at that number.
Let me make you a. That's a. You calling in from the county or?
Yes.
Oh, you couldn't zoom in? Okay.
No, I don't have a camera here.
Okay. It's not necessary to have a camera. You can just do voice. Okay. Okay. I'll promote you to panelist if I can. No, I can't. I can't do phones. Phones can't become panelists. So.
It's okay. Just
Yeah.
on a vote, just be clear, Tracy.
What, Bert?
Like if in a vote, just be clear that if you're voting for something or you're voting against something, and then we'll be all right.
Okay.
What? Oh boy.
Did everyone have a chance to look at the meeting minutes? From July 24th?
Yes, I did.
Okay, it's Tracy. Do we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
So moved.
I'll second.
That's okay, Christian. All right, I'll make it easy. Does any further discussion? No? Anyone against adopting the minutes? Let's know, so it's unanimous. The motion passes. Okay. Robert, I'm going to bring up the presentation. You can share the screen.
Yep. You're a co-host. You can do everything.
Does everyone see my screen?
No.
Yes.
No. You have to hit the share screen button, Bert, have the program already turned on, then click to that program.
Okay, share screen. Okay. You see the presentation?
No.
No.
It said the host disabled participant screen sharing.
Okay, hang on a sec. Okay, try now.
All right.
There we go.
Now we got it, Bert.
Beautiful.
Now we got it.
It's a 70 slide presentation, so I think we go through this pretty quickly. This is the snippet of law from New York State that talks about why we're doing this in the first place. And when we review each ag district, it allows us to continue the program. And we last reviewed it in 2013, and we're scheduled for completion by July of this year. If we ever needed an extension, we could get one, I'm sure. So I sent out the report. It's a pretty technical report, and I'll get a little bit more into it. But it has to address 5 items, and that's part of the overall review process. And that's the nature, and one is the nature and status of farming and farm resources within, in this case, Ag District 1, Southeast Ulster County, and the total number of acres of land. We have to do a calculation, and the total number of acres of land in farm operations. And I'll get to that in the next slide. The extent to which the district has achieved its original objectives. Then 3 and 4 are basically looking at the local comprehensive plans and local policies, and 4 is the laws, the zoning laws, and how they affect agriculture. And there's nothing adverse from any of the laws and policies in the towns that are covered by Ag District 1. You could say that Lloyd gets a little convoluted, but I think the spirit of the law is to support agriculture. And 5 is the recommendation to either continue the district as it is, we don't do anything, to terminate the district, or to modify it. So this is the district. The purple parcels are legally and technically Ag District 1, but the green area is the geographic extent that you'll find any potential Ag District parcel. You can pick Dennis's brain or the prior planning director, Herb Heckler, for the reason for that. It has to do with watersheds, and this is just basically everything's draining to the Hudson River in this area. So without going too deeply into the report that will get sent to the legislature and ultimately to New York State, there are 14,000, close to 15,000 acres, 14,800 acres of Ag District parcels, 777 parcels. That's actually an increase, but that's because of subdivision activity. So you'll find, like in Lloyd, near like greenhouse operation, that it's subdivided. But in prior meetings, we talked about not to remove those parcels from the Ag District because they're still being farmed. It's just there's the potential of them being made into single-family home lots, but there's they haven't laid down the well and the septic system infrastructure. So now, of that 14,800 acres, over 10,200 acres are in farm operations. These are the acreage of parcels with a property class code for agriculture. And so the coverage is pretty good. I mean, it's more than just viable agricultural land. I mean, the district is really covering active farm operations. Now I'm going to get into something that in 2017 that Chris Kelder, you had asked that we look for a more scientific way to calculate land that's being cropped. Now, not just land that's in a farm property, like, underneath the barn, but calculate how land that's actually growing or rearing something. And there's actually been a 1,100 acre increase, and the total acreages are in the report, but this is a really good statistic. And I use something called Cropscape from the USDA, and some of you may be familiar with this. This is something called raster data. It's data generated off satellite and aerial photography. So it calculates the spectral signatures of a given piece of land. So an apple orchard has its own distinct combination of red, blue, and green light. That's different from a soybean patch, or from certainly asphalt in a parking lot. And I used geographic information system, special software that planners use to do the calculations. And what I signaled out was parcels that were either in the ag district and or classified as agriculture by local tax assessors. And there are a couple parcels that are classified as agriculture, but still not in the ag district. And I calculated the change from 2013 to 2019. And I excluded other areas that I talk about in the report. But basically, we saw like an increase in apple acreage in parcels, like up close to 700 acres. And you're seeing a lot of experimentation, like with soybeans and stuff that wasn't even on or was marginal at best, like 6 or 7 years ago. They have a presence, certain crops in the ag district, which is interesting. It shows a kind of dynamism. And I also looked at the information behind the tax parcels, and there are 8 more tax parcels with a real property classification code for agriculture from 2013 to 2020. And a lot of these are orchard and stone fruit operations. So I'd be happy to work with some organization just to get these numbers up, because these are small farms. They're growing. This kind of it brings a different narrative than what you're hearing about small farms across the United States or the world for that matter. So moving on, there were 15 parcels, and I whittled it down where we really should evaluate whether we want to have a farm operation in these areas. And most of them in Marlborough, but you have one in Lloyd and one in Plattekill. So let's get to the heart of the matter. We're going to move our way north from Bingham Road near the Orange County border to Idlewild Road to an area with Wygant Road and Jake Henry Drive up to Marlborough Mountain and Mount Zion Road. Then we head to Plattekill, and then we head essentially to the hamlet of Highland. Here it goes. There are 3 single-family homes here. 2 are not currently occupied, and I'm pretty sure that either one or both are being sold. You have an orchard. You have orchards all across here, and then you have kind of development that's really just kind of crept up from Orange County, single-family homes. Here we are closer to the area, so you get a sense. Now this patch here is part of this parcel here, and I think it's a natural subdivision, so those get to stay. Now you can kind of see there's the 3 homes. And the pictures on the ground, I'm standing right here and I'm looking uphill across in that direction. Here are the SBLs. Okay, here are the 3 homes. And here's a lot of single-family residential development. So this green home is the home closest to the road. The homes, at least one home, but likely both homes for sale are uphill. So you can see all 3 homes there. And then when you look closer, you can see there's a boarded up window. These could have been attached to the orchard properties in the past. I don't know for sure. Some of the land records suggest that, but there's no silver bullet that I saw. And it looks like they're kind of derelict, or they're becoming that way. Lights there. Okay, we're jumping up to Idlewild Road. All of this here, like just 20 years ago, it was not developed. So this is a pretty new subdivision over here on Austin Way. I suspect this parcel is connected to these 2 properties there. Here's a closer look.
What's up?
You can see it's the same type of home. those two properties. Now, for what it's worth, the person who owns this property here, Ernest Greiner, owns this home. Doesn't own this property, but there's a path between these properties. I mean, these are connected all along here in some way.
Like,
And there's vegetative screening, to use planning speak, along here. Separated from the properties uphill. So I'm standing up here when I take the photos. So I'm looking down, here's the property in question. Here's the vegetative screening. Here's the property that's kind of connected to the area across the street. And I don't know if this is still an active orchard or blueberry patch or whatever it is behind there, but you can easily walk. There's no separation separating this property from that property behind it functionally, which is why it's not being evaluated for removal. And it's just a little closer here.
Bert, what's the SBL for that? Do you know what it is?
Not offhand. I could look it up after we get out of the presentation. I can look.
That's all right. Don't worry about it. Can you go back to the map just so I can see where the parcel is?
Sure. So this is the parcel. This is the parcel that we're evaluating. Highlighted in orange. Oh, Robert Magnanini's in. So let me.
So it's Greiner.
Greiner, yeah. So he owns this property here, and he owns it here.
Yeah, yeah.
So and the philosophy is that there are tons of properties like subdivided land that's just, you could walk to the farmland, you could walk across and the ownership is the same.
Yeah, I got you, Bert. I'm
And
following you.
I'm not touching those. So.
this off.
Okay, this is an interesting area. These properties survived the 2013 review, but they had no infrastructure, no septic, no well, not anything. They were just empty lots. Now they're fully developed, and they're very much attached to the rest of this residential suburban cul-de-sac area here. This property still has a fruit crop designation. I couldn't see anything. But you know, without walking on it, it's hard to tell. And they're just larger lots here that are just buffered from everything else. And there's an orchard definitely over here. So getting closer. Again, if you're standing here, you're looking uphill. So here's the Jake Henry Road parcel. There's two on Jake Henry Drive. But this one's the flag lot. Then you have the other three flag lots. This is Wygant Road. Wygant Road goes from being obviously a town road to some sort of long driveway. Those are the SBLs. So here's the Google Earth. You know, maybe they're doing something over here. I don't know. You just can't see it. They're fenced off. They're fenced off up here. And I take two sets of photos, one from up here, from the orchard up here, and I'm just going to make note of how it's just separated from the rest of that area. And this, it's certainly separated over here. They don't want people coming in to that property, at least from Wygant Road. I can't speak to up here. There may be a gate. I don't know. So I'm on Reservoir Road. So I'm up here. I'm looking to the west. It's just basically to show this is the orchard to my right, to the north, is completely separated from everything else. So there's no obvious connection to the rest of this area. Here's Jake Henry Drive. Here's the photo, and I guess one of the properties are in the ag district. So now we're gonna jump over to Wygant Road. Here's the cul-de-sac. Here's the property with the fruit crop designation. Going up here is where you find 3 homes. You got homes over here, and I got a different perspective. So closer. This is I guess technically well the mailboxes are over here. So this is maybe some sort of private road at this point that's getting called one.
It's definitely a private road.
So I turn to the right. You see one of the Wygant Road properties, another one right behind it. You have other homes. They're all like one on top of one another. So we're moving up to Mount Zion Road. And to be fair, this wasn't removed in 2013, but I just bring it up because it's worth looking at, and you may decide just to leave them alone. And there's a big agricultural region here, and this may have been a farm at one. It had to have been a farm at one point, long ago. And there's actually what looked like to be a barn here that's kind of holding stuff. It looks like it's been refurbished a bit, but it's not attached as far as I can tell. It's not on the property of any of the ag district parcels. It's on a parcel over here. So it's home here, home here, home there, homes over here, home back here, home over here. So there's a cluster. This is an interesting parcel. This has the same ownership. She has access through a driveway up here, a road over here. We'll see, she may have some Canandaigua silt loam over here. And just, it would probably pass the ag district inclusion test. So.
There's homes on all those lots though, right, Bert?
Yes, there is.
Every one of them has a house on.
Yep. And even though, and I'll get into the topography over here, this really, well, just look here, you get a sense of just the big agricultural area here. And there's actually subdivision activity here, but it's really hard to tell that the land was subdivided. I get the sense that they're all, some of them are connected to the farms down there, just because you could just walk over the farm property. And it wouldn't surprise me some of the multifamily housing has maybe seasonal workers. So, but here's the area over here, and it's just been, they've felled a lot of trees to put in homes. So what you're looking at here, the blue, these are federal wetlands. So the federal wetlands really preclude anything from this bacon strip lot here. And I mean, they could still get back here, but there's no prime soils that I can tell. This is Marlboro Mountain. This is the side of Marlboro Mountain. There is some sort of patch of Canandaigua silt loam up here. So, okay, just to get everyone's bearings. First, I'm gonna look in this direction, and then I'm gonna look in that direction. I'll look to the west, up the mountain, then down the mountain, east. Looking up the mountain, take my word for it, there's a house to the left of me, there's a house to the right of me, there's a house over here, house there, there's a house back here, we have a picture of that. Here's what kind of speaks to some sort of agricultural activity, not recent. But the owner of this property over here has, I guess, maintained it. And here's the 3 lots, the bigger lots. They share access and they go off in all different directions. What this road here goes onto another lot, there's back. I know they have deeded access, at least back in there. I'm not sure what's going on over here, but that's something we could probably find out if we were had to. Okay, now I'm looking downhill. Again, here are I guess the old farm infrastructure. House here, we saw the picture of the house here. There's a house here, I'll show it to you. That's the house. And this is another road, that kind of horseshoe-shaped property. She has a double access on either side, and leads to an area that she may have been growing something back there from the aerial photography, but I'm not sure.
Hey, Bert, just quickly, The lots that you highlighted don't have those barn structures on them. Am I correct?
No. Nope,
I'm not correct, or I am correct?
you are not correct.
All right.
Those barn structures are, let's head back. The barn structures are on this parcel here. Here they are. Hugging this.
Yeah, so that's not a parcel you're highlighting that you think should come out, right?
It's not even in the ag district.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're out of Marlboro. We're in Plattekill. We're in Plattekill or Dorney Road, which I thought was Route 32. Route 32 is somewhere over here. There's some sort of farming activity going here. There's definitely an orchard here. This parcel I had zeroed in on, but this actually was recommended for removal. Mr. Brune, he reached out to Ginny, said that he's storing apples, and it's still an active property. So that's not being recommended for removal. He'd probably be tied in over here to that orchard. Here the lady who owns this property has other ag district property somewhere over here, but I don't know. It's not. This is definitely not being farmed. I mean, I think she owned it with her husband, but I'm not sure if he's in the picture anymore from the tax records. So. It has access on Barclay Road and on Plattekill or Donia Road. The issue is that there's just a lot of homes here, all over the place. Getting closer. And the access is like, it just basically is, there's homes nearby, and in here, there are definitely homes nearby. This will have a higher speed limit. Barclay Road. Get into. So I take a picture over here. Well, I use something from Google Street Maps to show the access here, and then I took pictures along Plattekill or Donia Road.
What's the soil on that parcel like, Bert?
I didn't catch that.
What's the soil on that parcel like?
It's like all prime soils.
Okay.
It's like pretty much covered in prime soils. So Barclay Road. So you got the houses on either side. It's just not a developed access. We're coming through here. That's of course. So now I'm on Plattekill or Donia Road. I guess with some investment, they could carve out an access going uphill. The sight lines coming on that road would be interesting. There's definitely a home just off screen here, and there's another one to show right over here. So they have their driveways. And this is the storage, the warehouse that's staying in the ag district. And there's a gate and there's a car back there. All right, this is the last parcel. This is an interesting one. You'll note here, this is an urbanized area. This is Highland. This is getting federal dollars for being basically having a lot of people close together. And this is owned by the Historical Society. This is a barn here. Getting closer. It's not adjacent to any ag district parcels anymore. We'll get into that. So there's some sort of home, or I don't know what it was. That's being refurbished by the Historical Society in that area. This is a barn that's has parts of its walls open, and so okay. Not too long ago, there was no boundary here. This is all one ag district parcel. It got subdivided, and Scenic Hudson bought this property here. and they created a park, and they joined it with parcels that were not in the ag district further uphill. And they joined they put together a lot of acreage. And that naturally fell off the ag district records. It included land that was never evaluated to be in an ag district. The SBL changed. So they're no longer in the ag district. But this remains. It's kind of like a vestige. And so that's why we're looking at it now. Here's the property here. You can see the homes here, and there's some sort of industrial development here. And here's the rest of Highland. So I'm looking opposite. Highland is behind me, and I got a lot of exposure. So you start to see that there are residential properties very close by. Looking in the other direction, this is being refurbished for the Town of Lloyd Historical Society. And this was, it was a farm structure of sorts. It's fallen apart, that's for sure. And there's some sort of asphalt over here. So the recommendation, which of these parcels should remain in the agricultural district, which should be recommended for removal? Are there any not on the list that should be recommended for removal? Do you have any in mind? So I think I'll stay in the presentation for the time being.
Why don't you go back through them, Bert, and go through each one?
Yeah. The philosophy is that someone trying to start a farm operation in any of these areas could just really be disruptive. And it's just, so here's Bingham Road.
So, I mean, I guess my question is do you want a motion to remove these on a one-by-one basis? That's what I would do.
Each parcel or as a group?
As a group, Bert,
Okay.
as a group. So I'll make the motion relative to the Bingham Road, the three parcels on Bingham Road, which show houses on them. So I'm going to need a second here, folks, or not, one of the two.
Second,
Who's that?
John,
I didn't catch that.
John Adams.
Oh, John.
John Adams. Any additional discussion?
Rob Bagnanini, do you want to say something?
Yes, it seems like the parcels are no longer used for farmland and won't be in the near future. So I would definitely motion to approve removal.
Well, we have a motion and a second already.
Okay, I would third.
Okay. Jim DeLon is joined us. I want to make clear for the record.
Bert, I have a question.
Yes.
Have the property owners been contacted yet and asked their feelings one way or another?
Not yet.
No.
Okay. And that happens at what point?
That happens as soon as we schedule a public hearing. I will send out the letters and they will have a chance at the public hearing.
I see. Okay.
So there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any additional discussion? So why don't we take a roll call vote for removal? Mr. Adams,
Aye.
Mr. Kelder, you're muted, Chris. Chris, you're muted.
Better?
Rob, can you
that better?
unmute him, Rob?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, now we
all I
hear
can
you.
do is ask everybody to unmute. I can't unmute them on my own.
I'm
Now,
unmuted.
Mr. Kelder,
Can you
there you
hear me
go.
now?
gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I would vote. A point of clarification. This is actually just a recommendation to go to public hearing, correct? So this is not a final vote.
This is, no, it's ultimately.
No.
It's ultimately up to the legislature. We're making our recommendation. And in the past, in Ulster County, someone will call, and this is what happened with the Clarks, Stephen Judy Clark or Mr. Brune. They'll call and they say, I'm still using it for agriculture. They send a little note. It was first Ginny, then me, and then we draft a resolution excluding their property from the recommendation of this board. And that's how we've done that.
So Chris, to answer your question, it would be the recommendation of the Farmland Protection Board.
Gotcha. But the
So it
landowner,
is final in that, it is final with respect to this board.
and these landowners have not been contacted at all. It's just been from the drive-by and the map reading, correct?
That's correct.
Does it make sense to, before we go through all this another year, to have a draft and contact these people? Because maybe there's a compelling reason for them to be part of the ag district. It seems like we've got the cart before the horse, to say.
No.
This is,
We-
you're making a recommendation to the legislature. The legislature will make the final decision.
I understand, but we don't have the knowledge from the landowners, because somebody could be doing something, and I'm not disagreeing with any of these properties, but somebody could be doing something, or one of these buildings could be part of an ag business that we would have no idea about.
And we don't notify them before the AFPB meeting because no one knows how it's going to pan out, because there may be properties that you say you don't want from your own knowledge. So in the past, what has always worked is that they get a letter saying that your property's been recommended for removal from the Farmland Protection Board. Please contact me, Bert Samuelson. Before then it was Ginny Kraft. If it's still farmland in some way. And so what happens is that they reach out to the planning department, and the resolution is written in a way where we say adopt the recommendation of the Farmland Protection Board with the exception of these parcels, these properties.
To address Chris's comment, let's put it this way, Chris. The letters will go out with the recommendations to the landowners that are proposed to be removed, all right? If the board wants to come back together, if we get comments back and alter its recommendation, it can choose to do so.
Okay. Thank you, because I have no objection to any of these from any knowledge I have, but it just seems a little bit of a convoluted process, to be honest.
Well, it's the process that's in the law. So if you can blame the people that wrote the statute.
I understand.
So is that a yes to remove this one, to recommend this be removed?
Yes, I would even make the motion then that we recommend to remove all of them. And if anybody has
Well, we have a
disapproval,
motion and a second on the floor.
I'd like to
So
amend
let's
that
finish
motion.
this one up.
I'd like to amend that motion to remove everyone, and then if there's a problem, they can amend it back, save some time. This is taking forever.
I have a motion. Anybody want to second that amendment?
So Chris, you're motioning it that rather than go through slide by slide, all of these, that we just vote that they all get removed. And then if there's something that needs to be taken care of, we'll readdress it later on.
That's my motion,
I'll
my
second that.
amendment.
We
I'll second
had a
that.
motion earlier. We had a motion earlier and it passed to go through them property by property.
Okay,
So I have a motion, I have an amended motion. I have a second to the amended motion. All in favor on the amended motion, on the amendment?
aye.
Mr. Adams,
Nay.
is that a nay?
Yes. Nay.
Miss Armour,
Nay,
Mr. DeLon,
Jim? We can't hear you.
Mr. Maganini,
Nay.
Miss Williams,
Nay.
and I'm a nay. On the original motion for removing these properties, I have Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Kelder,
Yes,
Miss Williams.
This was on the original, correct?
Yes.
On
One
the
by
original.
one.
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
Miss Armour,
yes,
Mr. Maganini,
Aye.
Christian,
Aye.
Mr. DeLon,
Can't hear you.
I guess he can't. And I'm an aye. So that motion passes. Move on to the next one, Bert.
Idlewild Road.
I moved to
We have a
remove
motion.
this. I
Thank you,
moved to
Polly.
remove
Do I
this
have a
parcel
second?
from the, okay,
Do I have a second? I'll
I
second it.
I second.
Who seconded?
I'll second.
Dennis Doyle.
I thought I heard Rob Magnanini.
Well,
He said it first. That's okay.
Right. Dennis.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Kelder,
yes,
Miss Armour,
aye,
Miss Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Manganini,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one, Bert.
What about Jim?
I don't know. I can't hear me. Jim, Mr. DeLon,
Yes, okay.
raise your hand. Next one, Bert.
Okay, Wygant Road and Jake Henry Drive.
Do I have a motion?
yes,
That was Armour, Ms. Armour.
Polly, that's to remove these from the district.
yes,
Do I have a second?
I second.
Rob
Thank you,
Magnanini.
Mr. Manganini. I have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Kelder,
yes,
Miss Armour,
Aye.
Miss Williams,
yes,
Mr. Manganini,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Mr. DeLon,
Yes.
and I'm a yes. Next one, Bert.
Okay, Mount Zion Road on Marlboro Mountain.
Well, there's 4 parcels here, Bert. 1, 2,
Five.
3, 4, 5 parcels.
I have the, right here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 5 parcels. Do I have a motion to remove 5 parcels from the district?
So moved.
Who is that?
Thank you, Mr. Kelder. Do I have a second?
Second.
second,
That
That was
Williams.
Mr. Adams, I believe, got in there first. I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Kelder,
Yes.
Miss Armour,
Yes.
Miss Williams,
yes,
Mr. Manganini,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Mr. DeLon, and I'm a yes. Next one, Bert.
All right, we have Barclay
Single
Road.
parcel.
Yep, Platico parcel.
Do I have a motion to remove this parcel from the district?
Yes.
Mr.
Second.
Manganini, do I have a second?
Second.
That was Chris Kelder.
Thank you, Mr. Kelder. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
How many
I have
acres is
something to
this
say.
parcel again?
This one is, it's quite a large parcel and it has prime soils on it and there's no development on it. And it isn't an existing ag district.
I would like to keep this in.
So would I. I think it deserves to be in. I don't think we should take this one out. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any additional discussion?
This is exactly the sort
Hearing
of
none,
parcel
Ms.
we're supposed to be protecting.
Thank you, Polly. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Adams.
Is the motion to remove it?
That's correct.
Then no.
Mr. Kelder,
No.
Miss Armour,
No.
Miss Williams,
no,
Mr. Manganini, Mr. Manganini,
Yeah, I'll move to keep it. Absolutely.
okay. Christian,
Move to keep it.
Mr. DeLon,
And no.
and I'm a no. So the motion doesn't pass. The parcel will stay in. Next one, Bert, or is that the last one?
No, we have one in Vineland.
No, this is the one in Plattekill. Okay, this is the one in Vineyard Avenue.
Wait, give me a minute to get caught up on something.
Okay. So this is recording, just so everybody knows. So I have a motion. Hey, Bert, just so you know, when I look at this on parcel viewer, this parcel on Vineyard Avenue, it doesn't show up as being an ag district.
I know, that's a mistake.
Okay, it's a mapping mistake. All
It's a
right,
mapping
I'm
mistake.
fine with that. I thought that was the case.
But
So
it's-
do I have a motion to remove this parcel?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, Tracy.
Thank you, Tracy. I have a motion and second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Kelder,
Yes.
Miss Armour,
yes,
Miss Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Manganini,
Yes.
Christian,
Yes.
Mr. DeLon. And I'm a yes. All right, Bert, that's the last one, right?
Yep,
Okay. So those letters will go out with the recommendations, and if we hear back from anyone, we'll call the board together again. Anything else on the agenda, Bert?
John had wanted to talk about Colony Farm. I don't know, you and I are aware of this in Rob Magnanini about the development on Doc's land. Department of Corrections.
John?
Well, I wonder how many people have seen the solar array that's been built across from Walmart in Napanoch.
I have.
I've seen it.
Are people aware of it? Yeah, Doc's talked about doing this in 2016. And there was town opposition to it. Doc's wrote back to them, said that they weren't going to do it right away. They weren't going to build it there, across from Walmart or at Colony Farm. But not because of the community opposition. They just weren't ready to do it. So last December, I guess it was, or a year ago, December, the town approved Doc's being the lead agency for its own project, which I thought was odd. And seems like every level of government signed off on this project, and I'm kind of upset about it. The one positive thing to say about it is that everybody's good for something, if only as a bad example. And this is a really good bad example. It's an example of what shouldn't be done to farmland. It's it's class 1 Unadilla Siltloam farmland, and even Ag and Market says, well, 20 years from now, when the solar array is decommissioned, it'll still be farmland. So what's the problem? And I just disagree with that philosophy. But my concern now is that, in 2016, Doc's put out a request for proposals to put 2 solar arrays on Colony Farm. And I talked to one of the developers. He said that somebody, got the bid, but they never went to contract. And I'm afraid it's, going to happen one of these days. And we've just set a really bad precedent for letting the state develop farmland in a county agricultural district. And, the planning board was made aware of this and did not pass it on to the members of the Farmland Protection Board when they got the notice of intent from Department of Corrections or from Ag and Markets. I forget who it came from. And I feel like we should have been able to weigh in on it. And the Ag and Markets said that the lack of response from the Farmland Protection Board they see as our tacit approval of the project. So we've just approved the development of farmland in an ag district, whether we meant to or not. And
Well, Ag and Markets has changed their recommendations with respect to solar on farm fields. So their recommendation used to be to avoid prime soils for solar on farm fields. Their now recommendation is that you don't have to avoid prime soils. And that exactly what you said. So I'm not sure who's changed their mind, but clearly Ag and Markets has changed their guidance with respect to solar facilities on agricultural lands. And they now believe that they're a permitted use. So I wouldn't blame us. I'd blame them.
I think we're going along with that, and I think we should disagree with it.
Well, if it's a state designated agricultural district, and the state organization that's responsible for maintaining those districts and protecting them has now said it's okay to put solar on them. I don't know what to tell you, John, but I'm as upset as you are with respect to the way that Ag and Markets has now amended their guidance with respect to solar. But I'm not willing to accept the blame for something that the state is essentially has done in and of and by itself.
Well, I think we should have written to the state and said that we don't agree with that decision.
John, do you want to draft a resolution that we could approve, expressing our disapproval and disappointment with the process? That's kind of really the only thing we can do is disagree in spirit. We have no regulatory oversight or anything about this.
Mhm. Yes, but we're an advisory board. So yes, I'd like to make a motion to do that. That we should write a letter to Governor Cuomo, Ag and Markets and Docks, and say that we disagree with this decision to allow the development of solar arrays in agricultural districts.
Or at least on prime farmland.
Well, the trouble with that is that Colony Farm is, was a very successful dairy, and of course, it's, dairies are sometimes pastures and hay fields and not prime farm. But some of the bottomlands were used in connection with Colony Farm, but Colony Farm itself, being the foothills of the Catskills, doesn't happen to be, prime farmland. It's beautiful, beautiful, open space.
I would note that the town of Warsing zoning statute protects prime farmland from development with respect to solar, even though the state doesn't. The problem here was essentially is that the state agency is exempt from local zoning.
Yeah, I emailed.
So the town's done the right thing here. And several towns in the county have done the right thing. Quite frankly, because of guidance from the county planning department.
Well, the town made a motion, it passed a resolution to make Docks the lead agency for its own project. And I thought that was.
No, that's common. That's not unusual. The main thing here is that the Department of Correctional Services is exempt from local zoning. It's a state agency.
Yeah. And Dennis, I wrote to you about how I emailed Mr. Church from Orange County, who said that because this project was a commercial development and because it wasn't, part of the core mission of Docks, that it should be subject to the zoning laws of the town.
Well, and there's case law that basically says it's not. So what do you want me to say?
I don't know. His email said there's case law that says that there is. It was his email. So
and that's the problem with case law.
So somebody would have to sue Docks to.
That's correct.
That's how it would work. That's what we're saying here.
So there's a motion on the floor. There's a second for that? Polly,
Yeah,
did you
I would
second
sign
that
the
motion?
letter.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Who's going to write it?
John said he would, right?
I would, yes.
Okay, and that's prime farmland. Are you basically saying all farmland, John?
I'm saying farmland in agricultural districts.
Okay.
So active farmland? Stuff that is being actively farmed?
Well, in the case of Colony Farm, the state closed down the farm without a plan for what to do with it, and it just sits there. So I don't want it to be developed just because they don't have a plan for it yet. We have a plan for it. I got together the funding to do the agricultural feasibility study for Colony Farm, and so we have a plan for how to bring it back to life if the state would go along with it.
I think that's a little problematic, that wording, because say an active apple orchard wants to take a few acres of their not productive farmland and put a solar array to run their packing house on, I don't think that's productive for viable agricultural industries. That's just a simple example.
Yep.
Yeah, Chris,
Um,
those uses are protected, Chris. The uses with respect to agricultural lands being solar for agricultural operations on the farm are protected uses generally, at least in all the statutes that we've made recommendations about. If you want to put solar or wind for that matter to generate your own energy for the farm, that's an exemption from the statute. And that's generally a considered exemption.
Maybe Chris is right. Maybe we should leave private property out of this and just say that we're talking about the state-owned farmland in ag districts.
You amending your resolution,
Yeah,
John? So I have an amended resolution. Do I have a second on the amendment?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the amendment. Anybody opposed to the amendment? Let me do it that way, so I have to do a roll call for. Hearing none. Okay, so now we're back on the amended resolution. John's going to write it. Letter, I guess. I'm sorry. All in. John, are you? Let me do a roll call now. John,
yes,
Polly,
Yes.
Chris,
yes,
Tracy,
Yes.
Mr. Manganini. I'm sorry for going
Yes.
first names on you folks. Christian,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. DeLon, and I'm a nay.
What was Jim?
I didn't hear Jim. Jim, are you a yes or a no? Just one finger equals yes, two fingers equal no. Okay, thanks, Jim. So it passed.
So to be clear, this is a motion.
It's just a letter to docs and others. CC'd as appropriate. Right, regarding use of
Objecting,
state-owned farmland for solar purposes.
okay, objecting to state-owned farmland used for solar
Yeah.
purposes. So in ag districts,
In ag districts, absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
Anything else, John?
no, thank you very much.
You send us a draft, John, we'll put it on letterhead and get it out for you. Just tell us who you need to CC it to. Obviously docs,
Okay,
ag and markets as well, I'm presuming.
the governor?
Oh, why not? Anything else on the agenda, Bert?
no, that's it. The next AFPB meeting is going to be May, I think, late May. So that's ag
Okay.
district.
And we'll try to get back, and that'll be on the ag additions, right, Bert?
Yep.
All right, and we'll try to get back, we'll get back to you if we hear anything on the letters that we send out.
I'd just like to say,
Can I get a
Bert,
motion to-
Rissick,
I'd just like to say, Bert, you
Chris?
did a very nice job with your presentation. It's very challenging through Zoom, but I think you got your points across very well, and thank you very much.
well, thank you. You're
You
welcome.
did a great job.
Welcome.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Who made the motion?
Mr. Kelder, you made the motion to adjourn, right?
Sure.
All right.
There you go. Holly seconded. Any opposed? We're adjourned, everybody. Stay safe and stay well.
Back at you. See y'all
Everyone.
next
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everybody.